tiki kada kada no zona of your quiet man it's in a way and applico. When you catch your laptop video cool ebon your sorrow you take it.
Okay, it's a beautiful sunny Friday and it's a good time to be on your refreshing radio digit 1024. This is your friend, your brother Papadee, and we are on another exciting, interesting, inspiring Heart to Life show. And today is going to be phenomenal. Today is going to be awesome. Today is going to be off the hook, and it is good if you're joining us for the first time or you're joining us as our usual listener. Today is going to be a fantastic day. You know what? You know what to do for those of us who are regulars. You know the number to call. We're having a very special featuring today, very special guest, and I'm going to be introducing him shortly. He's a bundle of graces put together, and it will be very exciting. I'm having a great interview with him today. I'm looking forward to it. All right, it's still Heart to Heart Live, and you are chilling with Papadee and the Love Gang. Today, you can be, usually you can be part of the show. The number to call is 0809 888 1024. Call the number again, 0809 888 1024. There will be time for you to call in. You can also be part of the show. We are live right now on Facebook, and search for digits 1024 and you will be live listening and watching us. And if you get there, please remember to drop a comment, share, and tell all of your friends about today. All right, so let's I will be the only one on the show today because I will be interfacing with a great phenomenal personality that I will be introducing just shortly. Well, we have a guest that will be joining us today in the person of Mr. Interestingly, my namesake, Mr. Adeolu Adefarsin. He will be joining me shortly, and we're going to be having a great time having an interaction and discussing about him, about love, about marriage, about ministry, and about a very, very important project, something that I know is very dear to his heart, that will be happening shortly. It's going to be a fantastic interview. I'm looking forward to it. So if you are just hitting us, we're just coming in, please welcome on board. And Mr. Adeolu Adefarsin is here live with me, even though virtually. You're welcome, sir. Welcome on the show, Heart to Heart Live.
Digits 1024 radio.
Would you like your event to sound like this?
Check.
Or like... Then you're just one call away. Hook up with Digit Sound Solutions for your indoor and outdoor events. With professional sound engineers, the best of equipment, your dream event is sure to come alive. For more inquiries, call 0809 573 3330. Digits, live sound at its best.
This is Digits. Digits
1024 radio.
Don't you just get tired of looking for that complete package that you deserve? Well, I did. As an event planner, I got tired of perching from one place to another, just in search of that perfect sound, security, and comfort, especially in a conducive environment. Not too long after that, my friend Bimbo, aka Wakadube, introduced me to Digit's Place. It had just what I needed. A cool environment, amazing sound engineers, not to talk of the quality of sound. Top notch. I even got to find out that the place could be used for studio rehearsals, live recordings, small meetings, birthday parties, and even ride the shower with other packages.
Come back, Mr. Adeolu Adefarasin. Sorry for that break in communication. It does happen. All right, so we're back again. Before I was talking about us meeting a great, phenomenal person today on Heart to Heart Live. Like I said, he is multi-graced, and I'm going to be talking about more about him in various phases of life, and he's going to be sharing part of his life with us, what he does, what he represents, and his passion. So, but first and foremost, I want us to hear from Mr. Adeolu Adefarasin saying hello to the listenership of Heart to Heart Live. Mr. Adeolu, you have the floor. Welcome, and thanks for staying this for hanging on with us. All right, you're welcome.
Thank you so much, Papadee. This is just awesome privilege. Hello to every single person listening. I am Adeolu Adefarasin, and I'm so glad to be on Heart to Heart right now and have the opportunity to go heart to heart with Papadee.
Yeah, and we are glad to have you around. All right, so before we start, start asking all those juicy questions, we're going to go on a very short break, and we'll be back to start talking to Mr. Adeolu Adefarasin, the multi-graced, the multi-talented man. All right, so stay with us.
Thank you.
Don't you just get tired of looking for that complete package that you deserve? Well, I did. As an event planner, I got tired of perching from one place to another, just in search of that perfect sound, security, and comfort, especially in a conducive environment. Not too long after that, my friend Bimbo, aka Wakadube, introduced me to Digit's place. It had just what I needed. A cool environment, amazing sound engineers, not to talk of the quality of sound. Top notch. I even got to find out that the place could be used for studio rehearsals, live recordings, small meetings, birthday parties, and even ride the shower with other packages. So just in case you want to know more about this place, you can call them on 0809 573 3330 or send them a mail to info@digitsound.
All right, welcome back. All right, so we're still with Mr. Adeolu Adefarasin. First and foremost, I'm excited because we are the same, and it's my namesake. That's quite exciting. All right, and now I've been taking some time to snoop around to see all that you represent and all that you do, and I'm sure that we don't have enough time to graze around it. All right, so let's meet you first. Who is Mr. Adeolu Adefarasin?
Wow, I always love that question. I think that we tend to define ourselves by what we do.
Yeah.
But who am I? I would like to say I am. Firstly, I'm a lover of God. It's just one huge aspect of who I am. Another aspect of that is I just love people. I'm somebody who loves engaging, who loves to learn more and with impact. I'm also a lover of Nigeria. And I'm someone who always loves to see this country grow into its full potential. That's who I am. So I think I just said I'm a lover. Michael Jackson's like, I'm a lover, not a fighter.
Yeah, that's cool. I like that. All right. That's a very humbling introduction. So I'm going to ask you a more specific question because I have some idea of some of the things that you do. All right. So for instance, we know that you are married. We know that you are in ministry, you are a pastor, we know you're an actor, and interestingly, you've acted in some of the Nollywood movies that have made come to limelight in present day terms. And many more. And I also now know that you have a passion for worship, and we're going to be talking more about that in a short while. So, Heart to Heart generally, okay, let me put it to speed, really talks about love, matters of the heart, relationship, everything that goes around love and all of it. So Let's start from that perspective. I know you're married, and
It's good.
I also have this understanding that your wedding anniversary was about 2-3 days ago. Am I correct?
Yeah, on the 15th, on
Oh,
Tuesday.
On Tuesday. Oh, okay, that's great. So, let's start with matters of love, all right? So, and that's like a day after Valentine's Day. So, tell us, how has marriage been for you in the last 2 years?
It's been sweet. I mean, I think it's been interesting. I got married at the beginning of COVID, so it was literally just before COVID hit.
So you had like 1 year honeymoon lockdown.
Just me and her.
That's cool, man.
The sweetness of that, and for me that was really awesome. It was. We're always saying that we missed that time. Though in the beginning, one thing that happens when getting married in that kind of circumstance means usually people are like, "Oh, I'm going to work," and you see people just in the evening when you get home. But it was like a baptism of fire, and it really exposed a lot about me to myself. Things that you don't think about yourself when you're living so closely with somebody. Love brings that, exposes that. But it was also such a good time being able to spend that much time together consistently, and you get to know somebody so well. So I really enjoyed that lockdown. Lockdown.
You are one of the people that are direct beneficiaries of the lockdown.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Before, because I'm going to be asking you how you manage all these very important aspects of your life, but before then, let me ask you, what do you think make your marriage thick? What is that thing that is going in for the two of you that makes your marriage what it is, that makes it that that it's going to last forever? And if you're going to be speaking to people who are getting into that space or who are about to get into that space, what are you going to be telling them? What are the things they should be majoring on right now and the things they probably should be spending less time on?
Yeah, I mean, I always say, first off, when you're married for 2 years, like I say, I'm a learner. That's one very important thing. So that's something that I think is actually very important, because I think a lot of the time people will enter marriage thinking we know, but really there's a lot to learn, and just be ready to be a very good student. And so that's something that I think helps us. Another thing that really helps is just willingness to be very honest with one another. And sometimes that's harsh, sometimes it's not, but it means that we're never
be a good learner, and then be ready to be honest.
Be very honest.
Yeah.
Because it means that we're never pretending with one another. Sometimes it's hard, sometimes it's tough, but it means that we're always ready to sharpen one another, right? So always ready to be very open and very conversational. Friendship is a huge one. I think we undermine it because you think, oh, you have your friends and then you have your spouse, but your spouse being your closest friend is very, very important. That idea that, if you have gist, the first person you want to gist with, because it can, when responsibilities of marriage come and responsibilities of just life come, it can be very easy to only have conversations about, this needs to be done and this needs to be done this way. And because of that, you forget to actually just enjoy the friendship of it. And so one thing we've been leaning into a lot, in our young marriage has been just, be ready to be very open and very justful with one another and just enjoy it, right?
Yeah, it's obvious that you're enjoying your marriage. I can see the glow here. All right, so it's great. All right, so let's move a bit professionally to what you do. Let's talk about your acting career. I was a bit intrigued by the fact that you are in ministry, and for those who don't know, he's a pastor, and you have also featured in some of the Nollywood movie blockbuster that we see, like King of the Boys, all right, and some very great movies. How that's like, there are a lot of who think, a lot of people outside who believe that there are certain industries that are quite, there are two parallel lines, like the Christian faith and certain industries, like being in the movie industry, the entertainment industry, are two parallel lines that will never meet. So how does it work? How have you been able to navigate those two areas? Ministry.
You know what I mean?
I'm a pastor. Sorry, just a minute. I'm ministry also, so I know that's quite demanding. I also know that the entertainment industry, especially if you are acting, is also heavily demanding. And now you're married. How are you coping with all the graces?
I mean, one thing I always say is, for me, I never saw ministry happening. God kind of took me by surprise.
Oh, okay.
I always wanted to be an actor. That was, from a very young age, that was it. The one thing that God kind of used that period and has used it to show me is, it's important just for people to see that, like you said, some of those industries that people don't think that people that, are in ministry, people that are quote unquote strong Christians, because there are a lot of strong Christians that I've met in the industry, and that, I'm not the only one. I think the power of it is actually just being there. The power of it is that people is being representative in the space for people to see that it's possible to love God and be there, and that it's possible to not compromise your values and do your work, and it's possible to be in that space, right? And another thing has been, when it comes to even adding marriage into it, was also another aspect of, because those there are complications that come with the entertainment industry, right? And learning to manage and learn to know where your priorities are, prioritize your, and for me, it's always been one thing, love the Lord your God above all things. So love your God, love the Lord, love my spouse, because God has called us to love our wives like Christ loves the church, right? To love my spouse and to love my work. And so for me, drawing those lines of what's our priorities has always been important, and making sure that I'm doing it, but I'm always doing it for good reasons. Whatever work I'm doing, whatever film I'm in, that I'm representing myself, I'm representing the kingdom of God, and I'm also representing my home. Those are the ways I think I've been able to find balance. I think we're always still working on it, but
yeah. So give me an hint about your spouse, your wife's approval. Was she in it, or she probably had an idea anyway before you guys got married, or she still has probably reservations? Because there's quite a number of people who are in your shoes, who probably will be getting some vibes and warning from their spouse. You can't, because of the, because that place is considered a very slippery ground for people of faith.
Yeah, I mean, look, when she met me, she met that aspect of who I am, and she was very accepting. But one thing is just always conversations, right? So whenever I'm taking a role, we'll often, talk about it together, talk about what it entails, talk about, and we just make sure we're consistently speaking, whether I'm on set, consistently speaking before a film, after a film, just that openness that nothing, it like I said, one of those big things is communication, right? So nothing comes from outside before it always comes from my mouth when it comes to hers,
okay.
And just having that relationship is very important. But funny enough, some of the changes that I made in my acting career came before my wife did, just came from direction from God, right? And because one thing that's very important for me is I'm always representing what God wants me to represent. I'm always representing God's heart in whatever you do. So if you see me in the entertainment industry, you can still see somebody that loves God and not think, what's going on here?
What's going on here? All right. So before I go further, let me ask you, there are people probably listening who will probably are thinking right now of, doing same. Some people are already in it and find it quite difficult to merge their faith with their career and profession, especially people who are in such kind of industry. So let me ask you, some people will be asking, practically, how can you have contact with that contamination? What are you doing differently? And probably we need to, as it were, if it's possible, cite a case study. So are there boundaries? Are there things that you will never be caught doing? Because sometimes in trying to be professional, there are certain things you are required to do, certain acts, certain imagery you're supposed to have, and a professional should be able to know how to make that. So it's supposed to be versatile, all right? So, and if you want to get to the peak of your career, you have to be able to take on any challenge that is thrown at you. But the believer, the person who is strong in his faith, are there boundaries? In a nutshell, how do you get contact with that contamination?
Yeah, I mean, look, of course. So for me, I always said one thing that I have a lot of personal beliefs that come with who am I representing, and not just necessarily what am I representing, like what I do in a film, but also what is the film representing, right? Because the stories that are told are important, and the values that they leave behind are important, and making sure that I'm participating in stuff. And I always when I started, I always wanted to be able to do gangster things. So I'm not saying, oh, don't go and do entertaining stuff. Like I enjoyed watching that stuff growing up. So I was like, I always want to be able to participate in that kind of thing. In terms of a film. And I think it's important. There are two things that are important. One, the church tends to avoid realities because we want to avoid certain stories or certain perspectives. I think it's important to accept what the truth of the current circumstances are in order to be able to imbibe strong values in that place. So we can't go around denying things that are happening in the world if you want to actually provide an influence and give solutions, godly solutions to them. Okay. So we can't afford to ignore certain things. So in films, I don't want us to pretend that nothing happens in the world. I want to pretend that people don't do drugs. I don't want us to pretend that people aren't having outside of marriage relationships, because these things are happening, and the only way you can address them is by confronting them. Okay. And in terms of what I do personally, look, I've done stuff, in films in the past that I probably will never do again. Okay. And there are lines, and those lines are by personal conviction. So I wouldn't go and judge somebody who does them and has a different personal conviction. But my own has become the reality. So before my wife and I got married, I had a strong conviction from God about how we would go about our courting relationship, and it meant that if that we're abstaining, avoiding certain things, and that included the temptation that can come from even kissing, then I shouldn't be doing it in the film. So that meant that if I'm not going to do it with my spouse or my spouse to be while we're dating, I shouldn't be doing it with someone else. Which means that that's something that became a line in my career. And so whether people say that in order to attain success, you have to avoid certain things, I don't really believe that. I believe that you will always find that there are people who, when God has called you to a certain area, God will draw the attention and he will draw the light that you need to shine, so for you to attain success without having to dull yourself. So I believe very strongly that you can keep according to your values. And yes, the road might be longer, and yes, the journey might be a bit rougher, but you'll get to where you're meant to go.
Fantastic. The road will be maybe longer, more difficult, but eventually you'll get there. And interestingly, we have some, will I call it, models who that they've been on for many years, like Olu Jacobs and the wife. There are certain things there are certain acts you'll never see them act, and they are one of the A-star
legend and the legacy leaders of this industry.
So you don't really have to go all out, with no caution, and believe that unless you go that way, you will never rise to the top. So, I mean, even though there are very few, but there are people who are shining the light. And I'm sure that with you on board too, you should be able to see more. All right, so let's move on in your transitioning. Someone who passionately wanted to be in the acting and the movie industry. Suddenly, what happened? How did you transition into ministry, into pastoring, and how easy was that for you? The call of God.
we're still working that one out. It's a consistent journey. I'm not gonna lie, but it's one that was led out of the fact that, you know, ministry first off is not just the church. I think it's something that's very important for us to see. So for me, it started even while I was acting. It started in how I carry myself on set and things like that. And then God pulling me to positions to begin to have conversations, interviews, whether it is speaking up about his word, and then just building that passion to continue to actually proclaim his word. The transition, that desire, that call came unexpectedly, but also came very clearly. Was I'm very much still working it out. I'm very much still working out what that road and what that looks like, especially because there's so much and there's such a heavy weight of what the church needs to, and the church, and when I mean the church, not just the institution, the actual body of Christ needs to redeem, to bring people to actually see that the church, one, isn't a place of judgment, but it's a place of love, that it is a place where God wants to actually begin to pour into you wisdom to actually have success everywhere, no matter where it is, which again is why I believe me being called to the entertainment industry in and of itself is the depth of ministry, because God does not call us to just be in the physical church and just leave yourselves there, but that you can live a life of loving God and being loved by God by means that you'll be successful, whether it's in politics, whether it's in business, whether it's in entertainment, whether it's in art, whatever it is that God has called you to, you can have that and attain that success there. And just like I said, your presence is an example of the success that comes with walking with Christ. And that's it for me.
Amazing. All right, we're gradually going to talk about something that I know is very dear to your heart, but before we get there, I want to just put it again on the spotlight, probably a bit, maybe see the bit hotter. So now you are ministry, you're an actor, and a couple of other things that you do. So let me ask you, if you, on a scale of preference, priorities right now, if you had to make a choice, or maybe not say make a choice, what's going to be that's going to be your order of preference? If, for instance, you're a family man, you are a father. Are you a father now? Sorry.
I'm not a father yet. We're taking our time. We're keeping this.
All right. So very soon you're going to be a husband, father, pastor, professional actor. All right. So if for any reason this responsibility clashes on a particular day, tell me your order of choice, your order of preference. What will you sacrifice for the other? What comes first and what follows next? If you have it well cleared in your thoughts, let's share it with us. Let's hear.
Yeah, look, it's a complex question, right?
I know.
All right. So I think it's actually a relatively easy question to answer. The very first thing would have to be my marriage and my spouse, and then ministry. The reason, because for a man to walk in ministry, if you cannot evidence that love first in your home, then what am I doing trying to duplicate it somewhere else, right? So the priority then has to be my spouse, and my marriage, when kids come, the kids, and then ministry in terms of church pastoring, because that is a calling that has come from the Lord, and it's so essential and so important. And what I've realized in the process of it is, we all talk about ministry, people just think often from the outside it looks like just preaching on a Sunday, but the people's lives and destinies are attached to it. And it matters that people will be able to walk in what God has called them to. So that would come second. Acting, though it's always been my desire, would come third, and that's playing itself out even in reality, right? If I'm honest, over the last year or so. Because I'm very passionate about it, I love it, and I believe that God will use it in a very strong way. But at the same time, it's almost like a gift to me, and the opportunity to do that. And if anybody wants to come out to Christ, he must first deny himself. So it's that decision to deny myself.
Woo, great, great, great. I agree with you absolutely, 100%. Exactly. All right. So we are going to we're preparing shortly. I know that you have a project, you have a program. I understand also that you love worship. You have a program that talks about it's worship program Ignite, the joy of the Lord, bringing down God's presence. That's something we're going to be talking about when we come back from the break. I know that it is something that is there in your heart. I understand the third edition is about to it's about to come to be, and you are in the center of it all. All right, so we're going to go on a break shortly, and when we come back, we're going to talk about that particular project, what is all about, what the team, what to expect, the worship leaders, the ministers, and what people should be looking forward to in this third edition of Ignite. All right, please stay with us. We will go on a break and we will be right back. We're coming back to talk to Pastor. Now I'm saying Pastor. All right. Adeolu. Please stay with us. We'll be right back.
All right. Thank you.
Yeah.
Hey guys, my name is Dr. Tim Godfrey, and listen, on the 19th of February, 12 p.m., we are going to be worshiping. I mean, loads of incredible ministers will be gathering together. We want to raise the sound to Jehovah. Join me and my team, Extreme, and let's just bask in the presence of God. See you there. God bless you.
I'll be here worshiping all of the days of my life. I'll be here worshiping all of the days of my life. Everybody say, I'll for you, oh God, in Zion. Say, I'll be here. Say, I'll be here. All of the days. Let's sing this part for them. Say, I'll be here, lifting it, even when it is not easy, even when it isn't easy. Hey, lifting it. Hey, even when it isn't easy. Say, I'll be
Awesome, awesome. Good to be back.
All right, so welcome back to Heart to Heart Live, and we welcome back from the break. We've been talking with Pastor Adeolu Adefarsin, and we've had a great time talking about his life, his marriage, his profession, his passion, his call, his preference, and now there is a project that is very, very dear to his heart, and it's Ignite. We heard some voices, some very familiar voices that are going to be present in that meeting, and we're going to give you an opportunity to share with us that particular project, what is going to be happening, what to expect, the people who are going to come there to minister. What are we going to see, what are we going to expect? It's not one of those kind of meetings. This is a meeting that I believe heaven has called for. So Pastor Adeolu, over to you. Tell us about Ignite 3.0.
Hello, thanks so much. So Ignite is youth church kind of under Guiding Lights Assembly, and we have this event called The Presence. I don't like using the word event, but the idea of The Presence is that it's stepping outside of the four walls of the church and actually going into and carrying the presence of God wherever we go. And this is something that is different to anything we've done before, and I think it's so needed and called in terms of the circumstance and time that we're in. Bible says that if anyone's going to enter into the kingdom of God, he must be and have and carry the heart of a child. There's something about a childlike heart that God just loves, that faith, that freedom, that liberty. And so this event taking place tomorrow at Greenwood House School in Parkview Estate at 12 p.m. So it's at 12 p.m. And it's going to just be an awesome time of liberty and freedom, right? So if you come in at 12, you'll be shocked by the things taking place. We're going to have so many different kinds of activities. And it's just really the opportunity to come in and let go, right? Because in the presence of God, there is liberty. Like, come and actually be free. We're not calling for anybody to dress up. I'm dressed up for this conversation, but I want to be very chilled tomorrow. It's going to just be an awesome time, and at the same time during the day, while there are all these activities and games, and there'll be food and there'll be drinks, and we just want to come and enjoy, right, and just liberate and sit inside the joy of the Lord. So people who, and I trust very profoundly, the people who come will be blessed. The people that come with who struggle with depression, struggle with pain, struggle with feeling left out, struggle with feeling uncertainty and lack of direction. And in that place, they would encounter God's joy just by being in an atmosphere where there's freedom, being in an atmosphere where there's love, being in an atmosphere where there is peace, being an atmosphere where it's just full of so much excitement. And while that's happening, we'll have people DJing. We'll have our very own DJ Mojo, and we'll also have DJ Obi DJing with us, and it's going to be just an awesome time of freedom and fun. And then we transition from that free, liberated place while carrying that energy. We transition to an atmosphere of worship. Wow. And it's outdoors. It's going to be where you can just look up to the skies and return to the original image of Adam and Eve in the garden, and that liberty and freedom in that space. Yeah. I will be worshiping, and we'll have Tim Godfrey, we'll have Dunsi Oyekon, we'll have Myro Essay, we'll have Neon Adejo, and we'll have YJ as well. Like, it's just going to be a time to just sit in the power of God's presence, experience his love through the people that you'll meet, through the conversations you have the opportunity to have, through the opportunity to hear his word, and through just sitting in an atmosphere of worship. And I believe that people will encounter God's healing in that space. People will encounter God's peace in that space. And it's just going to be such a liberated atmosphere. We're not coming with this sense of this is how church is and this is what it's supposed to look like. We just want people to come together, to feel freedom, to feel love, to feel and recognize that they matter, that God sees them, and because God sees them, we also see them. And I just want to welcome anybody listening right now to just come into that kind of atmosphere, whatever it is you struggle with direction for, because like you said, this is heart to heart, and that you would encounter hearts and you would find love there.
Exactly. Powerful. I see the energy. All right. So while I know that it will be, and we encourage every single person listening, this is a program to be in, and there are certain things about the heart that you cannot solve. We're just talking, and yeah, it's good to talk. It's therapeutic, but there are certain things that are just divine. And except you stay in the presence, in a divine atmosphere, an atmosphere of love, an atmosphere that is where people who have the same hunger for God, gather and lift up holy hands excitedly. There are certain things that just drop off people and they don't even know that they've been healed. So you going through anything in your life, this is something to seize. I'm listening. I'm looking at the flyer and seeing the array of voices, passionate worship leaders across the globe that will be coming. It is exciting. It's going to be electrifying, and I want to encourage every single person. Do something. We'll be there. That's powerful.
We're already in town. I can say that.
All right. So I'm sure that you can just imagine what will happen. So I want to ask you again, Pastor Adeolu. While I know that you want people to be there physically, but you know that obviously some people will not be able to, no matter what they do, either because of certain other engagements where they are or because of where they physically are located, they will not be able to come physically. So is there any other way to participate in this particular program apart from coming there physically?
So while our focus, of course, is largely physical, and if you are anywhere outside the outskirts of Lagos and struggle, we are also having buses in different areas on the mainland, different areas, outside this island per se, places like Epe and Aja and Yaba,